My name is Mark Bjorkstrand, and I'm with the Twin City Gutter Topper Company. Obviously, I like my products a lot, and what I'm going to try to do is be very partial or impartial towards all the various kinds of gutter guards. Anybody have a gutter guard on their home right now? Okay, good. Well, here's the thing. That doesn't look good, and that's a problem. Water's going to overflow, it's going to get on the siding, it's going to get all over the foundation and on your head probably as well. So we don't like that. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and let you know why I think I know so much. I've been in the roofing and gutter business since 1969. My father owned a roofing company, and I like to say I was practically born on a ladder. So I've been doing gutters for 40 some odd years now. In 1985, I got married young to my wife Teresa. We got 4 kids and 6 grandchildren. In 1986, we moved to Eagan, Minnesota, and that's when I started my own company. I had worked for my father for all those years, and I knew the ins and outs, and I used my hands, and I worked hard. So now I said, let me use my mouth and my brains and see if that'll work. So I have 4 children, and 2 of the boys are in the business as well. So Jesse is my partner in this company. We named it Bjorkstrand Exteriors and Twin City Gutter Topper, and my other son started his own company in the same business. So the Bjorkstrands have been in the business. It goes back to Grandpa Walter. All my uncles have been carpenters. We're just a hard-working family. I was the pioneer of gutter guards in Minnesota. There was no gutter guard here in 1989. And so my brother Bruce met with the Gutter Helmet Company. We took over the franchise for Gutter Helmet, and I ran that franchise from '89 to 2001. In 2001, I bumped into Gutter Topper. I think it's a much better product. I switched over to Gutter Topper. They're a nice family organization. It's nationwide, and I'm the dealer here in the Twin Cities. Our company is certified to put the gutter covers on. Our men go down to Cincinnati, and they get certified and trained down at their facility. So enough of me. There's 4 basic types of gutter covers. There's a surface tension. That's this style. So it's a solid nose, and the water runs off and curls around the nose and goes into the gutter. Theoretically, the leaves sit on top. They'll either get washed off or blown off in the wind. Then there's also a screen or a grate. This is one style of a screen or a grate. They typically have little holes that the water just comes off the roof and drops in with gravity. Leaves supposedly sit on top. This one claims that these ridges or speed bumps, the leaves will sit up higher. They'll be able to dry out and blow off a little easier. A normal rainfall, many times, if anything gets in the holes, it knocks it into the gutter, and the gutter will stay clean. The other one is a micro mesh. These have gotten a lot of publicity here in the last 5 years. Typically they have a surgical screen of some sort, and then they have a backing. Either this one's aluminum, some of them have plastic grid to hold this thing up so it doesn't collapse. Then you have your sponges, and there's various sponges. This is one style. This just kind of sits in there like this into the gutter, and then they have brushes, and they have all kinds of different sponges. So that being said, it sounds pretty simple, right? 4 different covers. You can memorize them real easy, but is it simple? There's upwards of 100 products on the marketplace. When I started in '89, there was 1. In '95, there was 3. So there was Gutter Helmet, Leaf Guard, and Gutter Topper arrived here in '95. Or excuse me, 89, 95, yeah. So anyway, there's all kinds of them. Here again, there's your solid covers. This one, your sponges, your grates, your micro meshes. And so there's all kinds of them. So here's what happens. In preparation for this talk, I went online like you guys would do, and I looked at different things, and I was amazed at how many people claim to be experts on this, claim to be reviewers, and make all kinds of claims. I feel sorry for you guys. This is worse than the window business or any of the other businesses. So what do I do? So I checked out some of these things, and I'll be a son of a gun, but there is an awful lot of misleading information out there. There's people that make claims that are simply false. When you're in the business 40 years and you installed for 15 or 17 years, the only way you know about these things is in the marketplace. You got to be in the biz. So they make all these claims, and in the beginning days there was lawsuits. When I first started, there was lawsuits between two of the companies, and everybody was getting mad at one another for false claims, and it just went on and on. People tried to almost trademark the term, water covers and leaf cover. Everybody's trademarking everything. So anyway, every gutter cover has a pro and has pros and has cons. There's just no way around it. So the pros of gutter guards, most of the gutter guards install over your existing gutters. So if you went out and purchased a set of gutters or have a good set of gutters, you don't have to replace them. That does two things. You're not being wasteful, for one. Whenever you take a gutter off, you're going to have holes through the board or through your metal covering, if you have a metal covering. Holes are not really good. Maybe the installer caulks them, I don't know. But if you can reuse your gutters, that's the way to do it. Some of them, you have to take the gutter off. You have to put a new gutter on. That's just the way it is. So you can go over your existing gutters with almost all of them. Some of them will beautify the roof line of your home. I'll show you some pictures later on that. It'll cut down on the frequency of cleaning your gutters dramatically, most of them. And it'll allow the other thing, people say to me sometimes, they go, geez, for that kind of money, I can have my gutters cleaned once a year for the rest of my life. But here's the problem. What do? You wait like the first picture, and you say, I'll clean them when they get dirty. And this is what happens. Or people in the fall, they'll sit there and they'll wait for the last leaf to fall. Well, then the snow comes and they never get them cleaned. So with a gutter cover, you can be reasonably sure that that gutter is clean. It slows rusting. If you've got a set of steel gutters, the thing that rusts these steel gutters out is you get debris in there and that traps the water, and then it sits there and sits there. It doesn't dry quickly. So with a cover on, that steel gutter is going to dry out a lot faster, and it's going to save your gutter from rusting. Prevent critters from nesting in the gutters. Believe it or not, birds sometimes get in the gutter, they make a nest, and they clog your gutter up. With most of these covers, they're not going to be able to do that. The claim is made that it'll help reduce mosquitoes, but in all my years, I've never seen a mosquito nest. I've never seen mosquitoes all up in the gutter, to be quite honest with you. They like mud puddles and stuff like that and swamps. But that's one of the claims people make. And then if you filter your water or you have a rain barrel, a gutter cover will strain out some of those leaves and some of that debris from your water. One thing that's really been spread through online and all over is it'll void your shingle warranty. And that is simply false. For any of these covers, none of them void a shingle warranty. And here's the thing. I roofed for 17 years. And let me just show you this. Here's a letter we received back in 2005 from GAF Corporation. And this says that it has no effect on their warranty. Now, most of my covers go up under your second shingle, and we screw it to the roof deck. When you screw it to the roof deck, the screw goes right next to the roofer's nail. Every shingle has 4 nails. Our screw goes right in. It's like the roofer put 2 nails in that spot instead of 1. You put a little sealant and you set the shingle back down. So we've also got letter from Certainty Corporation that installing our gutter guards will not void any warranty, and I'm here to say that none of them will. The only way they can is if the installer doesn't know what he's doing and starts pounding nails through all the shingles. So don't worry about that when it gets to the time of choosing a gutter guard. The cons. They can be expensive in the short term. If you're going to spend $1,000, again, many people will say, well, that can be 20 gutter cleanings or whatever. But these are going to help reasonably guarantee that your gutters aren't going to get dirty. They all need occasional cleaning. There's just no way around it. Any outdoor product, I don't care what it is going to get dirty. Your car gets dirty, you got to wash it once in a while. If they developed a paint that would stay clean, don't you think would have it on the cars and would have it on the products? They get dirty. Now, one of the biggest things is in the spring it starts raining. The trees are shedding, so there's a lot of debris in the trees. The wind kicks up, and this stuff gets slammed into your gutters, your siding, your gutter cover, your car. How many times if you park outside, you come out and you got whirlybirds on your car, and you got to wipe them off. Same thing happens with these covers. There's no way around it. Icicles. Let's go down here for a second. Okay, here's an example of some dirty gutters. Now I can use my little mouse. Okay, here, what appears to happen here, right up here, I think is a valley. So this stuff got washed down, and it got down to the cover. This is a solid cover, and it looks like it's still wet. So it's just kind of sat there. Now this stuff is going to start drying out, and it might stick right where it is. Now if we get another rain, it might wash off. But something like that is going to affect the flow of the water. There's no way around it. This is a screen. Like the Bible says, you just need a little bit of soil for the seed to sprout. And that's what's happening here. A little bit of dirt from the wind got in there, and these things are sprouting up through the screen. Here's a valley area. When you have a valley, the debris clutters down onto the valley. It's not the gutter guard's fault that those leaves are sitting in there, but a valley is sheltered from the wind, and you'll get, this is not a huge buildup, and this probably won't affect it, but you'll start getting more and more. And so what I'm saying is the homeowner is still going to have some maintenance to do. You may have to hire somebody to come and clean what we call a rooftop tune-up. We get all the debris and sticks and everything off the roof and clean the cover. And you might have to do that. In my case, I've got one of the grates on my house, something not quite like that, but in 4 years I've had to brush it off once. Stuff was sitting on top of it. It was still functioning, but it looked kind of bad, especially for someone in the business. So I went up there and cleaned it off. This is another solid cover that has been neglected for years. I remember going to somebody's house years ago, and she, you know, you ever see those houses that have the ivy and the vines going up onto the, well, that completely engulfed my cover. I had one of the solid covers on, and she's pointing, and I'm going, where's the cover? And I couldn't say. I find out it's underneath all the vines, and she's saying it doesn't work. Well, for crying out loud. Here's the thing, when something gets on these solid covers like this right here, that's going to affect the flow of water. The water's going to, because it works on surface tension, with the molecules of the water stick together and they follow that curve in, you get a little debris in here, and the water's going to follow the debris. Now here's the thing, water has the ability, when you take a glass and you turn it, it has the ability to follow the glass. It doesn't fall off like a cliff. When I first was introduced to these things, I laughed at the guy. I said, you mean to tell me this solid cover, the water's going to follow that curve? And so the first one I did for free. The water went like gangbusters in there, and it worked. It'd be a son of a gun. The only time they have trouble with these solid ones is in a valley, and that holds true with all these types of covers. The water is deeper in the valley. You know, it's more like a river. So we have to put special diverters right in this area to slow that water down so it can accept it. And any cover, the same thing holds true. So now homeowners get upset because they see this diverter here, and they think that's holding all the leaves up there and it's causing a problem. But in reality, that one there doesn't even have a diverter, and the leaves sit in the valley naturally. So it's just something a person has to live with. Then you have the other problem is icicles. Now here's the thing, with a regular gutter, when you get ice melt, it's going to fall into the gutter. The gutter becomes just like a pot. You know, like you have like a pot, and it all fills in there. And as it gets cold at night, the ice begins to freeze. Once that gutter is froze solid, icicles start. That's just the way it is. So when you have a gutter with no cover, your icicles are going to show up later on in the winter. When you have a cover, any kind of cover impedes the water from getting into the gutter. And you're going to get a little ice glaze on top of that cover. I don't care what kind of cover it is. And you'll get icicles sooner. So the icicles will occur, and I tell all my homeowners, you're going to get icicles sooner. Icicles mean the water's trying to get off the roof. It doesn't mean ice dam. So, but here's the thing with icicles. Well, let me back up 1 second. If you have no gutter at all, you're going to get icicles right away. If you ever are interested, look sometime and you'll see the neighbor with no gutters, Icicles. The one with gutters, no Icicles, and the one with a cover, Icicles. It's just the way it is. Here's the thing with Icicles though. If it's over your front door or your walkway, it can drip onto the sidewalk and it can freeze. And I always caution people about that. It depends on the winter. If it's a bad winter with a lot of melting and thawing, you're going to get some more ice than normal. So every winter is different. And thank God for the nice mild one we've had this year. So anyway, it's not something to freak out. Nowadays they've got heated covers. You know, my company has heated covers. Most of them do. Here's the thing though, they're expensive. I mean, you have to put now the heat tapes through them, and they're probably as much as the cover or almost. So, and then most of them have you get an electrician to do the final hookup, which you know what electrician costs. You got, $250, $350 to do that. One good thing about the covered gutters as well, that you get the Icicles, but here's the thing, the gutter isn't froze solid. So in normal winters, a person with just a gutter is going to have a totally frozen gutter. If we get an early spring rain, that gutter is going to overflow all over the place. I get calls every spring, the gutter's leaking, it's ice. Just the way, it takes a long time to melt sometimes. So with a cover, that gutter's always ready to work, so that's a good thing. Here, when I talked about the beautifying the house, if you look at this one, you can see the little ridges in the shingle and how in the back of the fascia board. When you put a cover on, bingo, it cleans everything up. The roof line looks beautiful. So this is one that actually beautifies the roof line, and that's one of the solid covers. So I'm running out of air, so I'm going to end this. But here's the thing, folks. Here's my tip for the day. Buy when we need the work. Buy when we need it. When we don't need it and we're busy, prices go up. Most of the people in this building are small business owners. And here's I had 50 employees at one time. I could take a lot of work in. But once you get busy, and a lot of these, now I'm down to 5 people. So here's the thing. We have the ability to do 2 things. We can hire somebody to help us out and train them in and hope to God they're good and good workers and good people. Or we simply raise the prices. And that's the way it is. When fall's coming on, people don't realize that's the busiest time of the year for almost all of us because winter's coming. Winter slows the economy drastically. So when winter's coming, we get busier and busier and people get more demanding and they want it done soon before the snow and blah, blah, blah. So buy when we need the work, and right now we need the work. So we've been sitting around all winter, and believe me, it gets lonely. I can only improve my company so much on the internet and everything else. I'm sick of it. I want to get the guys out there working. And use common sense with these things. I know there's 100 different products, but use your common sense. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you get somebody that promises you nothing's ever going to go wrong with these things, that's not the guy for you. Request referrals and call them. You get a list of 2,000 referrals. If you don't call any of them, I mean, you're hoping the guy wouldn't put all those names down there, but you never know. Nowadays, you can cut and paste names. Check the BBB. Angie's List is pretty good. Home Advisor is pretty good for credentials on these guys. Ask your friends, neighbors. Throw it out on Facebook. Has anyone had a gutter cover? And, you get a response. And ask them how it went. Anyway, that's the end of the story. I thought what I would do is 2 things. I tried to think of most of the things that would be interesting to you. If I forgot something, I thought I'd just open it up to question and answers and particular problems if you have any.
You say periodically it needs cleaning. How does a homeowner do that? Just with hose, just put it in and just let it run?
Okay, the question is, I mentioned periodic cleaning and how do we do that? I tell people with the solid covers, because you can see the nose of it from the ground typically. So the nose is this outside edge right here. That is the most critical part that needs to be cleaned typically. So let's suppose, I'm going to talk on a 1 or 2 story house. If it's too high, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that too. But you just spray the hose and get this nose cleaned off. That's the part where the water's going to roll around. Some of these other ones sit flat, and you're probably going to have to either get on a ladder and wipe them off and spray them with the hose, or hire somebody, I'm afraid. But the key thing is, if you get a gutter guard, you want to still keep an eye on your house. I mean, when when it's raining, once in a while you can go out there with an umbrella and just see that everything's working. Sometimes people put it on, they just simply forget about it completely, and I know how that goes. Because how about your furnace filter? You just forget about it, and all of a sudden you go, oh, it's been 2 years, and the same happens here. But there are results if you don't clean them. So manually clean them or spray them with the hose is how you got to do it. Thank you.
How long do that type typically last?
Which type?
Yeah, that.
Well, that's that sponge. Okay, that one's been around for quite a while. All I can say is I've replaced a few of them. They tend to collapse. One thing about this is it soaks in water. Okay, so because it's porous, so it actually takes away some of the capacity of the gutter to hold water. So in a heavier rain, you're going to hold less water with that because it's a porous material. It's soft, so ice and snow and that kind of a thing is going to condense it, and I really don't know how long it would last, but that's my feelings. My feeling is to get something solid in Minnesota. Plastics and what's the other materials? Plastics and PVC and that kind of stuff is, it's not quite as strong as aluminum. That's why I like to use aluminum. Anybody else? Yes?
Do you use a roof rake, or are some of them not as good as others?
With a roof rake, well, when you use a roof rake, you should be skimming the bottom edge anyway. So I mean, you stick it up there and you're pulling the snow. When you get down by the gutter, the place where the ice forms, no matter what, you don't want to scrape it all the way down to the shingle because you might pull some of the granules off. So you're going to have to let up a little bit right at the bottom edge and leave a little bit on there. So I'd say they're all okay with the rake, but you just have to be a little more careful. The one like this one, that sits on top of the first shingle. So when you get down there, you want to be aware of that. So you do let up a little bit sooner, maybe a foot at the bottom, and just leave a little bit, of snow or whatever on there. So you got to be careful. They'll scratch too.
You mentioned a diverter at the valley.
Yes.
Can you have an example of that?
No. I realized that later. I put this together. I read my mail on Tuesday, and it said I was giving a seminar, and I go, huh? What? This is my first seminar. I whipped this thing together, and thank God I read the letter. No, I don't. But there's, like in this, where's the valley? What's the next picture? Or didn't I have a valley somewhere? Yeah, there. Okay, so ours, for instance, kind of comes up like, it's kind of like, it looks like a B-1 bomber, if you will. It's kind of circular and it's got 2 wings. And so it comes down about right in the middle of the cover, and then there's a circular thing, and then it comes this way. And that circular head, if you will, has slits in the back, so the water comes out down the valley through those slits and right into the gutter, and the wings are tapered so the water dissipates with those wings to slow it down. So the main thing is just slowing that water down and giving it a chance to get into the gutter. So, and then other people just take a piece of aluminum and they form it at a 90 degrees, so it's 2.5 inches by 2.5, and they just put it on the front edge of it. And other people will take, even these solid covers, they'll take a material like this, and they'll fabricate that in the middle of here. Because again, they want the water goes in a lot quicker with gravity than surface tension, so the water would just drop straight in. And of course, debris will sit on top of the grate there too, and has to be cleaned once in a while. Yes?
Which one would be best for someone with a lot of pine trees that shed needles?
Pine needles. Pine needles are a problem. We have dealers in Oregon, Washington, where they have all these big pine trees. And with a solid cover like this one, those pine needles gum up in there and they're sticky and all that stuff. So we have developed a product that I think is the best for pine needle. I didn't bring it here. I've got it down in my booth at booth 8. It's like this, but the holes are micro holes. I mean, they're so small a needle can't stick in it. Like this one, needles could stick straight up and some fall in. By the way, whatever gets in your gutter, most of these products, some of them will let some small stuff into your gutter. If you have a hole like this, obviously things are going to get in there. Our guarantee is they're going to be so few and far between, they're going to wash out, and that's what the guarantee is all about. We know you're going to get something in there, but it'll flush out. Some of them don't let anything in, but therefore a lot of stuff sits on top. But our product's called the Needle Guard, and that's why it's called that, is because we made it specifically for pine needles. And sometimes you have a house, I'm sorry, where you got a pine tree here, but you don't over there. I mean, you can interchange these things. We've got 4 products, for instance, so we're not just giving you one where we have to maybe not let you know the con of this one. I can, honestly decide the one that you deserve.
What about if you have maple trees?
Whirlies?
Yeah, with the helicopters and then whatever, the red weird stuff that comes off of the spring.
She's asking about the whirlybirds and the red stuff. I should have, what is a tree person called? Horticulturist or something? Anyway, I should have did that. Arborist. I should have did something, because I don't know all these trees. But I'm like her. It's the stringy stuff. Anyway, the whirlybirds, here's the thing. Years ago, all we had was steel screen. And that steel screen, if I had a nickel for every foot of that I threw away, I'd be a rich man. But the diamond shape, they're diamond shaped typically, and they were too big. So the whirlybirds would stick in there. And that gave them a really bad name, because it would look like a bunch of soldiers marching, to war or something. So nowadays, the whirlybirds aren't a huge problem. I mean, they might sit on top of this one and wash off, and they'll sit on top of any, like this one, it probably would still be a little bit of a problem, because those diamond shapes are kind of big. But most of the covers today, there's, and as far as the cons go, I can tell you more in a private session. I just don't, I want to be as impartial as I can be without trashing anybody, if you will.
Sponge type.
Well, the sponge type, they're going to stick in there. They're going to, especially it's something like this that's, I mean, there's a screen on top, but it's going to stick to this stuff. Anybody else?
On those diamond-shaped ones, how are they attached to the gutter?
Well, we do put that on. I mean, sometimes people don't have the pocketbook to get, you have to work with people. It's just the way it is. So we'll put a screw in this front lip. Ours is a little bit different. It overlaps this edge here, and then we'll put screws here, and then it slides under the shingle, and we'll typically put I haven't installed in a long time. I think they put something under the shingle, but they don't put the screws as often, I don't think. So there's still, you want to have them attached. Some people don't attach them, and some homeowners don't, and then you go and you see them all over the place. And so you still got to get a good screen, even if you put, that's the least expensive one, but at least get a good steel screen so it's got some substance to it, Again, any other questions? You guys were fantastic. Thank you very much.